Never let any woman near him, until the day she walked in, trembling, dressed in rags, holding a debt she didn't owe. What began as hatred turned into the most heart-shattering love story of redemption and fate. Watch till the end. The twist will leave you speechless. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more emotional miracle stories that will touch your soul forever. Heartbreak. Story 4,000 words in one emotional paragraph. Leonard Grayson, the cold and untouchable CEO of Grayson Enterprises, was a man carved out of ice. His heart frozen by betrayal, his soul chained to the ghosts of a past no one dared to mention. Known for his ruthless decisions and emotionless demeanor, no woman had ever managed to get close to him. Not the socialites who flocked to his galas, not the models who craved his attention, not even the assistants who worked under his sharp gaze. But fate had its own cruel poetry when a young woman named Alara Moore walked into his mansion, trembling in her second-hand uniform, with eyes too pure for the world she was stepping into. She wasn't there by choice. She was there to repay her father's debt, a man who had once worked for Grayson Industries and mysteriously vanished after being accused of stealing millions. Leonard's hatred for her father burned deep, and seeing Alara standing before him, fragile yet defiant, reignited every spark of vengeance inside him. He hired her, not out of need, but out of cruelty, wanting her to suffer the humiliation her father had brought upon his name. But Alara, despite the cruel orders, the cold stares, and the endless tasks, carried herself with quiet strength. She worked tirelessly, never complained, and even when Leonard threw insults like daggers, she smiled faintly and whispered, "I'm not my father, sir." Those words began to haunt him. Nights grew longer, and for the first time in years, Leonard found himself awake, replaying her calm voice in his mind, her tears hidden when she thought no one watched. Slowly, her presence began melting the walls around his heart. He caught himself watching her from his office window as she cleaned the garden, her hair glinting like a halo under the morning sun, and something strange, something he couldn't explain, stirred inside him. But just as warmth began creeping back into his life, a storm brewed. An anonymous email arrived one night with a file that exposed Alara's real identity. She wasn't who she claimed to be. The report said she was the daughter of the man who destroyed his company, but also hinted that she might be hiding her connection to someone else, someone even more dangerous. Leonard's trust shattered instantly. In a fit of rage, he confronted her in front of the entire staff, accusing her of deceit, calling her a manipulator like her father, and firing her on the spot. Alara stood frozen, tears streaming down her cheeks, whispering, "You'll regret this, Mr. Grayson, not because I want revenge, but because truth doesn't hide forever." She walked out of his mansion that night, leaving behind silence that echoed through every marble hall. But peace didn't return to Leonard, it never could. He tried to move on, burying himself in work, but the emptiness inside him grew unbearable. One night, during a thunderstorm, his car broke down on a deserted road, and as he wandered searching for help, he stumbled upon an old hospital on the outskirts of town. Inside, he found her, Alara, dressed in white, caring for patients in the charity ward. She looked fragile yet angelic, and when she saw him, she froze. "What are you doing here?" he asked hoarsely, and she whispered, "Repaying debts that aren't mine." She explained how she had worked there secretly to pay for children's surgeries, how her father had been framed for the theft by one of Leonard's own board members, and how she'd taken the Maid job not to beg forgiveness but to gather proof of her father's innocence. Leonard felt the ground crumble beneath him as guilt pierced his chest like a knife. He investigated, and the horrifying truth came to light. The true thief was his late father's right-hand man, now one of his most trusted advisors. Leonard had punished an innocent family for years while the real criminal lived freely. He tried to apologize, but by then, Alara's health was failing. She'd been diagnosed with a terminal illness, one she'd kept hidden to continue helping others until her final breath. Leonard refused to let her die. He used every resource, every doctor, every connection, but nothing could stop the inevitable. In her final moments, as she lay in his arms under the soft glow of dawn, she whispered, "You didn't fall for me, Leonard, you fell for the love you buried inside yourself." Her last words broke him completely. After her death, Leonard vanished from the public eye. Rumors spread that the cold CEO had gone mad, that he'd sold everything and built hospitals under Alara's name. Years later, A journalist discovered the truth. Leonard Grayson was living as a volunteer doctor in the same ward where Alara once worked, dedicating his life to the people she loved. And on the anniversary of her death, villagers claimed to see him standing under the same cherry blossom tree where they first met, whispering to the wind, "Debt repaid. Love eternal." But the final twist came when one nurse found a sealed envelope in the hospital's charity account, a will written in Alara's handwriting, leaving behind the confession that she was, in fact, Leonard's half-sister, born of an affair his father had hidden to protect his legacy. Her love for him was never romantic, it was sacrificial, a way to cleanse the bloodline of its sins. The revelation shattered everything, yet also redeemed them both, for in her purity, she turned vengeance into healing, and through her truth, Leonard found salvation. The story of the cold CEO and the poor maid became a legend, a tale of love that transcended blood, hatred, and death, proving that sometimes, the purest souls are sent not to be loved, but to teach love itself.